Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It looks like nothing is messed up, which is good. It's a good start. Had to fiddle with my saddle for a moment. So I swapped out my saddle, and I changed the saddle height, but I eyeballed it more than I should have. So, had to settle it back down. And it is now correct. So, we're going to try to keep working on New York. Which means, unfortunately, more escalators, more New York roads. But we're going to try to get it done. We have less of them. That's the goal. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times up the escalators. Ugh. Only 2 climbs, though. But still. I'm not happy with the escalator count. Scotty Mobile. Swift teasing that they're going to eventually do a phone collab. Swift coming to phones near you. Please don't. Oh, and they got Bike Beast in here. I didn't notice that before. That was Beast Mode. I had debated racing today until I woke up and my legs went, ah. So we'll see how they feel Wednesday. Because they want nothing else. That's for sure. So we'll see if they wake up at all. Or if they're just on a bad day. Where they said, why did you get out of bed? That's weird that they have entry on the left side. That's very un-US. That the exit is on the right, the entry is on the left. That's weird. That's Asian style, where you stay on the left, or you walk on the left. I experienced this in Japan, and it was very interesting. Takes a little bit of getting used to. Because even if you drive on the left, it doesn't always mean that you walk on the left. Depends. I'm not doing a 5-minute power effort, or 5-second power effort, thank you. 5 minutes.
You're
Tina!
really dedicated to this, aren't you? Pity.
That's crazy to me. That is absolutely insane. I appreciate that so much, Ina. At this point, basically the OG. Because anybody else that competed with you... Maybe Zelda. I think Zelda might be one of the only people that has... Well, if his sub is still active. I'm going to accidentally call out Zelda and have him not have an active sub, and it's fine. I honestly don't know. I'll be honest, I don't track who has subs and who doesn't, because that doesn't feel right. If you do, I appreciate it. If you don't, I get it. No, don't call out Zelda. No. See, and on this side, well, I guess, yeah, no, that's interesting. Because on this side, the exit is on the right. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. I'm confused now. But how you doing, Hina? For anybody curious, right now I'm just chilling, trying to get one of the final route badges done for New York. Are you paying me for my friendship? I'm confused. I'm kidding. But beyond this, I have Double Parked as the only route badge I haven't finished with New York. So, just trying to slowly get there. I mean, I had to ask, you know, make it sound like I'm service. And for anybody keeping track, I did swap out from the saddle I was riding Saturday. I could not do it. It was very uncomfortable. So I've swapped to a temporary saddle until the saddle that I ordered comes in. Because the Roman that I put on the bike was not cutting it. I was not putting up with that. So this one should be better. It has no pressure relief cutout, which if you're not a cyclist might not be something you understand. But basically, this is old school R&D that is not by today's standards good for the male anatomy. Let's just say that. But it's fairly broken in, which means it's sustainable for 1 to 2 hours usually. Longer than that, not ideal. But the other saddle I was trying on Saturday, couldn't even make it to that, so. I don't know when the other saddle should be in. It might be a week or two. So, it should be fine. That is actually quite rare. Ironically, probably made people more upset than a cyclist not abiding by the rules. I'm gonna be honest. Because a cyclist is following the laws, ironically is slower. But, so you get people that are upset because they're going too slow. But, you get a cyclist who breaks the laws, and they're upset because they're breaking the laws, and why doesn't it apply to them? It's the nature of the beast. Let me tell you, I was happy when they implemented the law here about stop signs and red lights and such. Basically, stop signs become yields, and red lights become stop signs. It is such a good implementation. Because, yeah, people got ticked when it first got in place. What people don't realize is if we stop less, it makes your drive faster. I don't blame you. I mean, dangerous going on record saying this, but I do feel like there's a time and a place to not follow them. The laws, that is, when you're on a bike. Because there's times when the laws are made to not make cyclists safe. But there's also too many cyclists that are negligent of the laws or ignorant of the laws. Because whenever you see a cyclist on the sidewalk, technically they're not supposed to be. Cycling on the sidewalk is, in a lot of places, illegal. But people just don't feel safe otherwise. So it's that thing of, that's one of those times that depending on the place, it's safer to be on the sidewalk, unfortunately. One of those sucky things where doing the right thing is wrong no matter what. Fiorio, I hope you know I'm not doing this on purpose. You're just at the perfect pace to have passed me and be right in front of me. I honestly don't know if I knew you were moving, Hina. That's nice. See, technically, Denver and Boulder are supposed to be really good for biking. I disagree. It's still stupidly dangerous. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. That is quite the endeavor. I am not jealous. Moving sucks. One of the things Penguin and I have agreed upon.
People, we got people.
Grubby! Hey, buddy, long time no see. How have you been? Welcome, welcome. Appreciate you sending people over. Just for a recap, currently, I'm just chilling, trying to get a New York route badge, because New York sucks, and I only have 2 route badges left. I feel that. Yeah, good try, Peter. Good try. My legs are garbage today. I debated racing, but threw that out the window pretty quick. Hey, Cam, how's it going? But yeah, Hina, what I was saying, Penguin and I have definitely said if we ever move again, we're getting a moving company. We're not doing it ourselves again. Having a moving company made things 1,000 times easier. Fighting saddle woes, Cam. I finally bit the bullet and I'm trying to figure out what saddle to switch to. Because I've put off addressing bike fit issues for a while. And I finally got myself a 20 mil shorter stem. And then that's like, alright, that's gonna put the final nail in the coffin of my saddle. So, trying to find the right saddle sucks. But I've been putting off getting a shorter stem forever because I knew I needed to do it. It's one of the reasons I didn't go in and get a bike fit. Is I'm like, I know what they're gonna say. Your stem's too long. And I'm like, I just don't want to deal with that. That's too much effort. And money. So I put it off, and finally on an 80K ride, I got saddle sores. I'm like, ugh. You know, Grubby, I believe you. I would believe you. If stems were round and had 6 bolts. I don't know aerodynamic-wise. Oh, thanks, Hina. Ah, and Hina, that makes sense on the moving part. Yeah, that's not fun. I mean, you're not wrong. Oh, I don't have integrated. I do not have integrated anything. I used to have the specialized bars that were the flat wing, but they weren't the integrated type. But having them crack twice, I'm back to aluminum round bar. But, I mean, let's be honest. I ride indoors 90% of the time.
Hey, thanks
Give
for
it a
the
follow.
Wait, where are we?
Cam. So I gave up. The entire cockpit area, yes, Grubby, I know what I said, is aluminum only. I don't have carbon anymore. I think I finally threw out the bar that cracked. But I've had 2 of them crack on me. One from a crash, and one from fatigue. So I stopped with those. And so now I have an aluminum round bar. Because I also knew I didn't have the right width bar. I think I had a 40. And now I think I'm at a 38. Which, yeah. You're not wrong. Alright. Have I mentioned I hate this KOM? It is miserable. That felt personal. Oh, it's good. But hopefully everybody's doing alright. I apologize for not having enthralling racing content right now, but I'm trying to be more responsible. I did like a month of just like 2 to 3 races a week, and I could tell I hit a plateau. So I'm trying to be good to my body and kind of give it a little bit. I'm not racing. I'm just being much more careful with how much. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've ridden Continental Ultra Sport and Ultra Race outdoors plenty of times. In racing, no less. 'Cause I don't think... I think that's actually what I have on right now. I think I've got Ultra Races on right now. Tires are just too dang expensive. Yeah, I know. I've raced with both. It depends on how cheap I was at the time. I've definitely... I mean, I've raced with gator skins, let's be honest. I'll take the rolling resistance over no punctures. I am, the tire game has just become stupid. The amount of money you have to spend is out of control. Like, you can get tire sets that are $300 for the matching front and rear, which is just... That's just wrong. Like, if you ride them outdoors and you get something in them... No, 5,000s aren't that bad. But, like, to be, like, the fastest. And that's not including the tubes in them, if you don't ride tubeless. I don't know. I just stopped caring. On my time trial setup, I'm a little bit more focused on it. But it's not worth, you know, $100 for 2 watts. And that is 2 watts over 40 minutes at 50 kilometers an hour. Yeah, no, the new TPUs and stuff like that off of AliExpress are pretty high up there. But then it's the shipping time. That's the downside, is the shipping time. Because I have debated the TPU tubes and stuff like that. I mean, shipping time on AliExpress is like 3 weeks. Especially with all the latest politics around tariffs and stuff. they've gotten kind of backburnered. Oh, you're lucky then. Maybe I've just gotten unlucky. Dang, okay. Yeah, no, you're lucky. I did recently buy a power meter for my TT bike. I mean, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. But I finally found a dual-sided spider power meter for my TT bike. It was not stupid expensive. It was like 300 bucks. So, but it is one of the ones Llama has tested, so I'm hopeful. Finally be racing not with, yep, C515, yep. Hey, how's it going? You nailed it, yes. I got, is it the 515 or the 505? Whichever one it is. I literally have it in the closet behind me. But yeah, no, I pulled the trigger on that. Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's just standard on pretty much any power meter. I mean, that's with my stages on this bike. Zero offset is just a base level. Thankfully, I've got experience with the stages, so. But this year I was racing the time trials without power. So it's difficult. Thanks, Skip. To race off of heart rate when you haven't been in a while, especially in a time trial. So this will hopefully give me kind of like a standard to ride towards. That shouldn't be an issue with me. I mean, I live in Colorado. So I don't live in any super hot areas. If anything, I'll be racing it in the spring, because most of the time trial series is March through May. So and my goal is really to pair it with a heart rate monitor, so I can kind of duplicate it. Because the other thing is, my heart rate monitor occasionally fights with my Wahoo and just disappears. And I'm like, great. Appreciate it. That's wonderful. So I'm hoping the combination will help give me kind of a standard to work off of. Because I'm going to take time trialing a little bit more serious this next year. Not that I expect to win, because there's insane talents here. I mean, we've got people doing, what is it? I think it's a 10-mile course, and they're doing it 10-mile with hills at elevation, no matter, or no less. They're doing it sub 20 on road bikes at times, and I'm like, what the hell? People around here are unnatural. And I should mention there are Cat 4s doing it sub 20. Cat 4. Like, the new novice level. It's very defeating. Well, let me tell you. Because there's usually 50% of it is headwind, and there's good kickers on it. So it's a very tiring route. And these people are ripping ridiculous times. But I'm not out there to think that I'm going to win. I'm out there to race myself, so. No kidding. I was reminiscing with Llama the other day. I miss, like, the early 2000s of racing, where nobody had a coach, nobody had a power meter, everybody was racing on field. And that's it. It was, like, I don't know. It was drastically different than it is now. You go to a race now, and everybody's just racing on numbers. And it's, if you're not a wattage powerhouse, you lose. Like, there's only so much skill set can do for you now. And I'll tell you, I'm not a wattage powerhouse. And people are far too willing to take stupid risks. The amount of crashes in today's racing is just... It's like, the thing that was the constant talk in early 2000s was, guys, I got a 9 to 5 to get back to on Monday. Like, I had to come home in one piece. That is gone. If you have not raced outdoors lately, I mean, everything around here is crits, which I hate. I don't do it. I just do time trialing. But the reason we have so much out here... Yeah, exactly, Cam. Ugh, crits. I hate crits. I will not race them anymore. You have to... You know the reason why there's so much cycling here. Thanks, Huber. USA Cycling is an hour down the road. So, I have eaten at the restaurant next door to USA Cycling. I know exactly where it is. I actually bought a bike rack in the parking lot next to USA Cycling once. I have, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Cam. Crit racing now, the amount of, like, dive bombing or lack of technical skill, it's just not okay. Like, people get on Zwift or Ruby or Trainer Road, and they do these workouts. They get told they have an amazing engine, and they just go race. Or they just do a lot of solo riding and never ride with a group and have no idea how to race with a group. So they get out to these races and just take everybody out. It's... I mean, I remember the days when one of my friends was like, oh yeah, I just got a coach. And I'm like, that's huge. Like, that's like you want to go Cat 3 or above type level. Nowadays, you just ask ChatGPT and you've got a coach. It's ridiculous. And because of that, everybody just goes out and smashes. It's ruthless. And I remember being on the start line just, you know, chatting when I was in the early racing days. And everybody was super friendly. I tried, the first time I came back to racing, after a long time, tried to chat with people on the start line and nobody wanted to talk. Everybody's just like, game face on, don't talk to me. It's like, okay. Are we not here for fun? Like, I have news for you. We're Cat 4. You're not winning anything. Like, there's nothing on the line. It was just so... I don't know. I hated it. Like, it's like everybody thought that they were at the World Championships, and it's like, guys, we're at a local road race that nobody knows or cares about. The only people cheering are the families or friends of other racers who ferried them here. That's it. I hate to tell you, we're no one. Just enjoy this. Like, if you're at Cat 4 and not doing this for fun, leave. Like, also, I'm sorry, but if you're over the age of 20, it's too late to go pro. No team's gonna sign you anymore. It's okay. Just have fun. it was crazy. And even when, like, I ended up getting dropped with a group of 6, and there was so much infighting in the chase group, and I'm like, guys, there's like 30 people up the road, you're done. Let's just get to the finish, work together, we'll get there faster. Like, but I kept attacking, and I'm like, guys, they're like 30 plus seconds up the road, you're not catching that solo. I don't know what you're doing. I gotta fight for 31st, though. It might mean something. It doesn't. You're not even gonna get USA Cycling points at that point. There's nothing. Your money's in trash, it's okay. You got a good workout, enjoy it. So, yeah. I do time trials now. People are a lot more friendly there. Because the good thing is everybody knows. The results aren't going to be published until like the next day. So we're just fighting ourselves. When you come back the next week to do your next time trial, you can chat with the people around you to see how they did. Like, I had this thing of the guy behind me was incredibly talented. So my joke was, hey, every week, I'm going to try to stay ahead of you for 15 seconds more. That was my goal. And I did it occasionally. There was one time a goose tried to kill us, though. The exact moment he was passing me, for some reason, a goose decided it was the perfect time to land on the street. Nearly took both of us out. Little terrifying. Because we were both on the aero bars. I kind of figured, Peter. But let me tell you, until you've encountered the wingspan of a goose close up, oh my god, it's big. I did not realize how massive their wingspan was. Because we were passing probably 2.5 feet between us. Its wingspan would have taken both of us out. It was crazy. Needless to say, I had to take a couple good breaths after that because my heart rate was pegged. I probably lost a good 30 seconds off my overall time with that because I went to the red. That's one of the things I'm hoping that the power meter helps. Because I have a really bad habit of not metering my efforts. So, like, I try. It's just not very effective. So hopefully, having a power meter will stop that. Okay, that's impressive. Having any sort of deer encounter and keeping it upright is insane. Because deer don't give two cares. They are reckless. They panic, and they're gonna take you out. Hey, DJ. How's it going? There was one time I was training up in the mountains. I think it was about 8,000 feet. And, that's where I started, because Colorado. And, getting something from a supermarket. Saw a moose wandering around the parking lot. My god. I've never seen a wild moose like that. Like, in person, up close, with no car. Oh, god. Things are like 7 feet tall. Maybe 8 with their antlers. Terrifying. Oh, I believe it. I believe he was the talk at the finish line. So yeah, if you've never seen a wild deer in person, A, don't run. Bad. B, walk away slowly. Do not try to get a picture with them. They will maul you, and they will win. You think deer leave a mark in cars? A deer is like the runt of the litter to a moose. My God. That thing was intimidating. And it was like, it was just wandering the parking lot. It knew no one would touch it. It very much knew it was king. And rightfully so. It was one of the few times I was proud of humans. Nobody actually got close to it. You see all these videos. It's like, oh, a bear. It's like, you're an idiot. Have you seen a demonstration of how large bear claws are? I have news for you. Encounter the wrong bear, it is as big as your head. Good luck. And some of those bears, they don't care if they're hungry or not. They're just really freaking aggressive. And God help you if you find their kids. I remember there was one time when I was much younger, when I lived in New Hampshire, we were walking down a riverbed. It was one of the riverbeds near the mountains that was dry for the most part. And we were just hiking along. And all of a sudden on one side, coming down the side of the slope, or the side of the river, we see bear cubs. And we're like, okay, that's not good. Because we don't see the mother. And if you see bear cubs and not the mother, that's bad. Because if the mother comes from the other side of the riverbed, we're dead. Because we are between her and her kids. That's bad. Thankfully, we never saw the mother. We turned around and left very quickly. Very, very much wear the brown pants type moment. But I'm happy with the encounters I've had with wild animals, because it makes you respect them more. But yeah, no. Bears in person? Not bears in person. Moose in person? Jesus. Thanks, Darren. Moose in person are imposing, to say the least. They leave their mark, for sure. I think this is the third draft power-up I've had. It's annoying. Doesn't it know I'm riding solo? Like, when am I supposed to use this? I used it once and I felt bad. Because I ended up staying behind the person for like 3 kilometers. Alright, only 2 escalators left, thankfully. I hate these things. Solo, they're not bad. In a group ride, they shadow the group. Oh, yeah, no. When you see signs of moose crossing and stuff, do not be reckless. Because moose and deer, cars mean nothing to them. A deer, you may kill it if you hit the car, but your car's gonna be totaled. You hit a moose with a car, your car is totaled, and the moose is still gonna be standing there staring at you. Unharmed. A little bit of an exaggeration, but not by much. A moose is a tank. That is the best equivalent. I've seen the damage a deer has done. And I've seen a moose. Oh yeah, it's basically a brick wall. Yeah, it's... You know the whole thing of an unstoppable object and immovable force? It ends the unstoppable object. Those things. Man. And that's just them. That's not even their antlers. The rack on a moose is frightening. I'll be very happy when I don't need to do escalators for a little while. I've seen way too many of these escalators in the past couple weeks. So I think there's 12 New York routes. And after this, I'll have one left, if I remember right. Which I cannot tell you how happy it makes me. And thankfully, it's not Forget About It, because I might cry. Because that is a brutal route. If you have not done Forget About It, I'm sorry. I do not envy you. I will not lie, it was not enjoyable. And whose idea was it to make these 19%? Why? Why? Why would you do this? It's just wrong. Like, Libby Hill is that steep. Why not? Because it sucks. Like, I'm sorry, but when you made it so steep that you had to make an acceleration track, no. This is New York City, yes. This is the New York City expansion. They added Prospect Park, Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge, Times Square. But for some reason, they made it more glass roads. I don't know why. Ride it like a real person. I mean, the honest truth is, there should be no glass roads and there should be no acceleration pads, but it shouldn't be 19%. Ah, I know this one. I know this joke. Who? The greatest clip is somebody going around the office doing that to people, and watching the reaction is so good. That's like the kind of harmless prank that I love. Nobody gets mad at it. It's one of the things that's like the prank that keeps on giving. No, pretty much all my gear is primal. And even if that was a joke, still a plug. No, they're not felt, because, no, yes, they are. Hina. Even during a joke, I gotta give a shout out to Primal. Because the amount of stuff that they let us do. It's the one, like, ad read that I jokingly will do. And I say jokingly, not really, because it's not joking at this point. So yeah, DJ, the new expansion connects Central and Prospect Parks. Basically, there's additional roads around each, and then just kind of a main thoroughfare through the center. Once I finish the route, I can show you if you're interested. I can show you one of the route maps or something. Let me see. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So they've added Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge. And they suck. That's the green on the top there. That's the top of the bridge. Ugh. And basically there's a lot of like subway tunnels between things. I think that's their way of not having to make a bunch of the city. And I did mention it in a prior stream, but for anybody who wasn't here, I did finally lower the bar at the bottom so you can see more of my graph when it's not red. Because I know when I'm doing like anything zone 1, 2, or 3, it was almost invisible. So now it should be more visible. Yeah, I don't think they really tried to stay to honest layouts. I think that's why the subways are here. It's a solution. And that's why there's a lot of glass roads. People are saying they love it, which is so counterintuitive when people are so upset about the glass roads in Central Park. So I'm confused. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that wanted it to be more realistic, but it's not. Prospect and Central Park are really the only real parts. Everything else is basically glass road. Or, sorry, and the bridges. So we're gonna head here on roads for a moment, and then transition to glass roads. You can kind of see it up here. Oh wait, no, we're at Central Park, duh. Not Prospect, backwards. This is the stuff everybody's used to. This is the connector in. Supposedly, I think they added 31 kilometers of road. I think that's the statistic. English is hard. I know, right? Thankfully, they didn't add that. It'd be too much like Mario Kart at that point, and they'd get sued. Ah. 2 kilometers left of this route badge, and then I'll show you the map. Because this I'm sure you're familiar with, because this is just Central Park. So, nothing really changed here. Don't mind me. I mean, they do have Repack Rush, which does have aspects of that. There's boost pads, there's slowdown pads, there's time off pads. So they have kind of an instance of that. It's what we used at GCX. Because it's very Mario Kart-esque. And I mean, there are power-ups, so... It's just, I don't think steering took off as much as they hoped it would. But when it's an extra charge on something that's already pretty pricey as a barrier to entry, it's tough. I mean, even if you get a Zwift ride, it's $1,000. Zwift has not marketed themselves like Peloton. And I'm happy they haven't. Uh-oh. What's uh-oh? Uh-ohs always worry me when I'm streaming. I was immediately looking at OBS. Okay. OBS said I didn't drop any frames, so it might be a Twitch thing. I'm gonna guess that was Twitch. Because I have 0 dropped frames. Twitch gave too many discounted subs. They're running out. Oh, hell no. I have done that plenty of times. I know exactly what you're talking about. That climb sucks. Racing up it is brutal. I have seen the clips of people racing in Central Park, and it looks so sketchy. Like, pads are never closed, nothing. Really? I guess I can't fault anybody for that. I've seen crazier. Alright. One route badge left. Thank God. I've done too much New York lately. I don't know how many times I've ridden all these courses lately. Between racing, riding. Yeah, but that's asking... Oh, 90. That's asking people to pay attention. Yay, level 90. I do love the new animation. The new animation is really cool. Let's see, what does the level 90 kit look like? 10 levels away from 100. Granted, Eric Min did say that that's going to change soon. Oh, it's ugly. Oh, it's ugly. Okay, nope. Oh, here you go. There's a bit of a sample of it. So, you've got Central Park here, comes down, goes across the bridge. This bridge also has a path here. And then comes down, and this is the top of Prospect Park. So, Prospect Park is down there as well. Let's see. Yay. Streak. Let me see if I can find the rest of it. Yeah, here you go. There's all of New York. Oh, never mind. You can't see it. Gosh darn it. Of course it's behind. Most of it, yes. Most of it are... Like, you can see here. Look at all the glass roads. It's a lot of glass roads. So, Prospect Park is not. Prospect Park is actually... It's done like Central Park. But Times Square and everything in between except for the bridges is all glass roads and subways. For some reason. I think it's really just to decrease the amount of work needed to do it, unfortunately. Oh. Oh, that's... What? So, Taylor is on Innsbruck Ring, Richmond Worlds, Cobbled Climbs, Fan Flats. What? What is happening? That is weird. What route are you doing? Three Musketeers. No, I don't need that. Let's see. Oh, it's Innsbruck and Richmond, that's why. Because I have... Yeah, I'm not going to do any of those right now. I'm going to go run to the bathroom. I'll be back, and then I'm going to kind of warm down for a bit. So, one sec. All right. Let's see. Let's do this for now. So I'm just going to chill for a bit now. I did what I wanted to do today. I got another route badge, so we're down to less than 10 total across all of Zwift. So I'm happy about that. We're getting them down again until Zwift adds more, inevitably. So we know that they will, because as soon as I get close to either level 100 or the max level or max routes, one of those changes, and that's kind of just been a given. And Eric confirmed the other day that 100 plus levels are coming. He didn't give a timeline, but he did say they're coming. So we'll see when. But I'm sure as I get closer, I will get hit with them increasing levels. So that's my luck. So I think I have 4 or 5 left in Watopia. Yeah, I think it's 5 because I had 3 of the longer ones. And they added 2 of the shorter ones. And then 1 in Macquarie, 1 in New York. Is that it? That might be it. Because I've gotten a lot of them. I'm getting there again. Right now, if I'm not racing, I'm trying to knock out route badges. My goal is to keep working them down. The 3 in Watopia that were original, I don't want to do. Because one of them includes the Alp, and I've done the Alp enough times that I don't want to change it. I haven't done it in so long. And I know I should, but I don't want to. It is what it is, though. I may race Wednesday. I don't think I have anything tomorrow, which is rare. Usually I have something Tuesday afternoon, but I don't think I have anything tomorrow. So I'll probably ride either tomorrow or Wednesday. And I might do the race. We'll see. It is New York, so I may hold a grudge to it. I might not. We'll see. It's Prospect Park, so it's not terrible. It doesn't have the bridge, but it does have quote-unquote the KOM, which I'm not a fan of, so. It could be worse, but it could be better. So, it'll definitely depend on how I feel, too. And I don't know what I'm doing Saturday. Because Penguin will be out of town, so I guess it depends on what the tiny races are. I looked at the Epic race. I have no interest in that. Because the Epic race is doing Snowman, which has the jungle and the Epic. So, oh no. It's either Epic and or the Grade and the jungle, I think. So it's like a triple no. It's a whole lot of no for me. I'm good with not doing any of that. I debated doing the Epic race last week. Or last Saturday. Because that was going to be double parked. And I was debating, I'm like, hey, if I do at least one lap, I get the badge. But I couldn't even convince myself to do that, so. Yeah. I'm wearing thin on New York. I've had like a month and a half of nearly only New York. And I know I'm wearing the New York jersey for the most part. But it is what it is. It does look cool. I will give them credit. The jersey looks good. I'm just sick of New York. I'm happy I'm not doing ZRL though, because I think ZRL is what, like 7 or 8 laps of Glasgow? Which is just insane. That's inhuman. Well, no, not inhuman. Inhumane. Nobody should do that much of Glasgow. So I think next week's Z Racing is Scotland Smash, I think. So I don't think we're getting any new routes anytime soon. Which I'm fine with. I don't need to add to my tally for the moment. Because unfortunately, one of the workout sessions, what was it, Build or which one? One of the group workout things that they had for a month, all added new routes. So I've got to go do those. I've already did one. But I still have like 2 or 3 of those to do. I think I have 3. 2 in Watopia, 1 in Macquarie. So, unfortunately that just added more. And it's not new roads either, it's just a new layout. Come on, Bernie. Bernie's close enough now. I have lost all of my point multipliers, but I don't really care. I have 0 desire for anything in the shop right now. Well, I guess I could get the Brompton, but let's be honest, there's really no point in riding the Brompton. The race was hard enough. It's not like it has any perks other than being a ridiculous bike. It doesn't give you anything. If you didn't do the Brompton World Championship race, you missed out. Because it was ridiculous. That was a unique one. I'm glad I did it despite how much it sucked. People were going hard in that race. And it shouldn't have been because it's pretty low on the CRS scale. But people were still going ham. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by anything anymore. Yeah, Bernie, catch up. Come on now. I'm not trying up here. I had debated racing after I did my lap, but mentality's not there too. Because that's something I always try to figure in is, for me, it's not just, do I have the legs? It's, do I have the mentality? Because racing is always going to be that fight against your mind of you getting dropped, push, hard climb, push. And it was 4 laps of a ride, or of a lap, with a pretty grueling little kicker in it, so. It's not like it's a flat course we can kind of attempt to just threshold in the group and hang in there. You were going to have to push every lap. I mean, that's not really surprising. It's New York, so. Bound to be expected. It's a nice GB jersey behind me. I don't know if I've seen that one in Zwift. I can tell that my body's warming down because I'm starting to get a little chilly. But that is a good sign. It means my heart rate's actually in check. And I'm being responsible, which is a rare occasion for me. Bye. Trying to see who had that GB jersey, because I didn't think anybody behind me had the GB flag, but they had a GB jersey. So I'm confused. I'm like, what? I mean, I guess if it's just a cool looking jersey, I can't fault you. But it just looked like not a national champs jersey, but it looked like a national team jersey. Which would be pretty weird to wear if you're not. Like, that would be the person next to me having the US MES jersey and not being US military. Would be a little weird. That's one of those, I can't remember if I have that unlocked, but I would never wear it. Because that feels wrong. Ah, that's the King jersey from Giant. That's pretty. I don't know if I have that one. This black and white one here. That's literally facing into me. I know I've done that ride. I have that jersey. Except because I won a contest last year, I think. But they didn't ask me what size I was. And so they just sent me a kit. And so it's a small. So I can't wear it. I'm like, well, that sucks. I would have worn it. Like, it's a nice looking kit. It's just ridiculous that they didn't ask my size. So, oh well. So I have a mouse pad, which is a weird choice, signed by the CEO of Giant. All very weird statements. Bernie, you're slow. I know I'm the problem here, but I'm going to claim it's your problem. Even though I know very well it's not. I probably should have done the higher pace partner, but I didn't really feel like it. And this is more of a spin down my heart rate, so. That's kind of what I was aiming to do today, was a moderate push on the New York Loop, and then kind of warm down. But this has been perfect for what I wanted today. I do think probably about 50k out from leveling this bike. I think. If I'm not mistaken. Scotty is now riding. I'm very curious about the rabbit he ended after his name. That is not what I would associate with Scotty. But hey, you do you, buddy. You do you. Yeah, next ride will probably be tomorrow or Wednesday. I do not know which currently. I'll probably take a look at like what events are happening. If there happens to be any group rides that match what I want to do. Would be nice if there was. Might be hopeful. Because if there's something that matches, then I'll probably lean towards that. Nope. Thanks, Bone. You did wonderful. And that is an entire lie. You failed me. Oh, there's a person with a GB jersey. Yeah, no, I don't think there's somebody with a GB nameplate, so I'm confused. It's a pretty kit, though, I won't lie. Like, I like it. It's just one of those that I don't think I would wear. Like the Team Type 1 behind me. I would not wear that unless I had diabetes or had a family member that did. Maybe a friend, but I feel like that would be a stretch. But I know that's just me. That's just how I do things with jerseys. I know I'm an oddity. I've always been that way of like, I will never wear the rainbow stripes or any national kit, or the only kit I've worn with sponsors is a kit for a team I've been part of. That's just my rule of thumb. So yeah, like that. Yeah, no, that has the rainbow bands on it. That feels wrong. That legitimately has the rainbow bands in the sleeve. I don't like that. I know they sell rainbow jerseys and stuff like that, but I don't know. That's my cycling moral compass, not everybody else's. I will comment from afar. Here I am not knowing that that's actually like a world-class rider or something, but I don't think so. Alright. Perfect place to stop. Oh. That is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a nice little warm down. I actually got my heart rate a lot lower than I normally do, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. My heart rate going down almost to 100 is unheard of for me. It's kind of concerning. My heart rate never does that when I'm on a bike. I touch the bike and it goes up to like 120. So, who knows? Alright. I'm going to call it there. Like I said, I will be back either tomorrow or Wednesday. And then Saturday would be my guess. But I will try to do what I normally do and have a scheduled YouTube stream up. So that's kind of like, normally I try to get it up about an hour before I hop on the bike. So there's kind of a check of whether I'm going to be on or not. I very rarely do Twitch only, but it's Twitch only if I don't feel like thinking too much. AKA, I don't want to make a thumbnail or do any effort in scheduling a stream. So yeah, stick around for the raid if you're interested. Otherwise, I will see you in one of the next 2 days. Appreciate y'all hanging out, and have a good one.